Hey y'all, happy Wednesday. It is the first yes, it's the first day of November. Welcome, welcome. And I wanted to start off this month. And I wanted to kind of share with you guys how you are able to lead and still be yourself. I know this is like one of the top struggles that I kind of hear from people. They feel like, not really feeling sure that they can show up as themselves. And so I wanted to like start this month off right and really teach you how to lead. And not only that, but a lot of people don't realize that you being able to lead as you is your superpower. And on this live stream this morning, I want to be able to show you why that's true. And I also want to be able to show you how it's done. So if you rock with me every week, go ahead and say good morning, good morning, good morning. Because with this topic, and again, if you are in a lead role, and if this is a topic that you actually struggle with, I think this whole thing comes from, when you feel like, when you have to leave, that it has to look a certain way. But this morning, I want to be able to really show you guys how to expand your mind, because it does not feel good having to show up, right, every day and not feeling like you can really show up as you. Or sometimes you can find yourself in fear of, if they see all of me, right? If they will like see you in a certain light. But I want to be able to free you this morning. So you can not only lead good, but also feel good, right? And I know a lot of times, there's so many things that we think that we should be doing, and we don't really get clear on what it is that we want to do or how is it that we want to feel when we do what we do, right? And so this morning, I want to kind of lean more into that, because when you talk about being authentic, right? I think that people tend to overthink it sometimes. It's not as deep as it sounds or as it's been made out to be, right? And I know that we are now in a time where I think that people are starting to kind of look back on what they've done and started to really examine if how they are, if it's really them. And it's the thing, y'all. When you feel like you're not being authentic, it does not mean that you are fake, right? So I definitely want to say that. When you feel like you are not being authentic, it doesn't always mean that you are, right? You not being authentic could come from you just not knowing, right, what it looks like in certain spaces, right? And so I do think that sometimes as this is what I should do, not necessarily this is what I feel like. If my and also, guys, I do want to say this. I do go live every Tuesday and Thursday. And yes, I know that it is a Wednesday, but as I shared yesterday, I was out in the woods with my husband, so I did not go live yesterday. But I usually do go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if you cannot catch the full stream of this, know that you can go on YouTube and you can to this juicy topic. So I do want to say, like, when you are talking about it does not mean it's not about you wearing your heart on your sleeve. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is I really want to shred what people think being authentic means. It does not mean that you like wear your heart on your sleeve, right? It does not mean that you just, share your whole life, right? It does not mean that you have to be friends with everybody, right? When you talk about you being authentic, for one, it starts with you knowing who you are, right? It starts with you knowing like what are your values, like those things that you stand on. That is what should be, that's what should form all of that, is you being able to know, right? How is it that you want to lead in with the impact desire to make with your skill set? What is the overall of that, right? And so I do not want you to think that when you have to operate in a certain way, that means that you have to like, slice certain things off. The great thing about being authentic is you get to set the tone of what that looks like, right? The key thing is to make sure whatever that tone is that it's you and it's real, right? And so when you're talking about being able to show up in the workplace as you, it's not this mysterious thing. It's more about, again, knowing how is it that you want to impact the people around you. And, the majority of the people who watch me, you are pretty seasoned, right? So it's one thing when you are just starting off, right? You have no experience. You really know who you are at that point, or how do you want to fit into this overall corporate thing, right? But as you grow in your career, as you start using your expertise, as you start leaning into those strengths, right? It really is about a, right? And when you're talking about being authentic, it is about you being able to have your words, right? Like everything needs to align with itself. You're not feeling like you can only give so much right here, because if you don't, you are in this fear of, I won't be seen as professional, right? And that's probably the number one reason that people have the fear of not being able to show up as, are in this mindset of if I show up as me, will they still think that I am as experienced that I am? Believe a lot of that comes from, again, you feeling like you have to conform to what you've seen or saw. So I know a lot of us hear a lot about leadership styles, right? And we think that stuff is okay, yeah. No, you really need to get clear on what is your style and style is, but what is your style right now, right? Because in your career, as you evolve, as you learn new things, as you get clear on you know the impact you desire to make with your skill set, you will start getting even more clear on how is it that you want to lead and how is it that you want to impact the people around you, right? But this does self-aware, and it also takes a level of you not being afraid of people to see the wrong light. And I say that in quotes, right? Because it's not the light that you have a lot of times, it's not even anything wrong, right? It's just that you feel that fit into a box maybe that you've already seen, right? And so talk about, right, you being able to make that shift so you can operate and be afraid of that. It really does. And let me say this, you know, say is that when you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing. I'm gonna say it again. When you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing. And because as you go in your career, really is about you being able to stand. And it is a little sense of you being able to be strategic in a sense, but it's more about you being able to understand that you are not trying to squeeze your way into certain rooms, right? You are not trying to make yourself fit into spaces for you. And I think that once you get into the reality of, I'm not trying to fit into spaces or in molds, right? Or in rooms that are too small for me, because you understand that when you are in a place to where up as you, right? Not to feel the need to code switch, or not having to feel the need to hold back ideas that you have, right? When you can show up in that space and you feel good, everything is about to go to that next level, right? Your growth, your pay, and even the impact that you make with your skills, because you feel good about what you do, right? And this is why I'm so big on you being able to be in alignment, you being able to go after what you want, not just what you can get. Because when you can operate in a place to where you feel good about what you do, that's what brings forth greatness, right? That is what brings forth the level of excellence that you crave for, right? Because sometimes you can find yourself in your career, you feel stuck and you're like, man, I just don't know why I can't get to that next peak, right? Why is it that I really can't tap into expertise the way that I want to? Like, why that I really can't lead my team with the influence that I desire, right? And sometimes it's not always who you work for. Sometimes it's not always the work that you do. Sometimes the fact that you are holding back, that you have not really let go in your expertise. A lot of times that is what can stop you from being able to really feel about what you do, right? Because there's a level of you may feel unsure, right? And when you are unsure, you are unstable. And it's to feel confident and not stable in 100% every single time, right? And so, it's not that you may need to learn something else or learn. Sometimes you need to just start showing up as you. Ain't around there. But sometimes you really need to put yourself in a place to where, you know, you don't mind being who you are. And again, I want to say who you are, right? Because that is not just one thing, right? There is a lot of things in that. And that in itself would be a whole live stream. But when I talk about you being who you are, meaning like, even the way that you think, right? Or even the way that you see things, even the way you see gaps, right? Even the solutions that you make at work, all of that is you. It's you, right? And especially when you are someone who, how you think, how you see things may not be how everyone else sees it, you'll start feeling like there is something wrong with you. But there's nothing wrong with you, right? When you see yourself to where you may be like, man, I feel like I'm the only one who sees things like this. Like I'm the only one who can see gaps, right? Like you start feeling like this is now the time that I need to shut down. But that's the opposite, right? This is the time where you need to come to that forefront, right? And really right? How you are not like everybody else. Because especially, I talk about all the time, like, I think people struggle too much with how is it that I can stand out, right? How is it that I can be more visible at work? How is it that I will eyes on the results that I bring forth? And in most cases, it does take you from not being a to be the one, right, that may not see things like everybody else. Now, I'm not saying, to just stir things up for the sake of stirring things up. But I think that one thing that people really don't lean into, which they should, are their strengths. It's so crucial. Your strengths is probably the number one thing that really is going to set you apart from everybody else. And a strength and a skill is not the same thing, right? A skill is something that you have learned. A strength is just something that just comes for you. It's something that you don't even have to really try. It just comes, right? So when you think about strength, like it is detail, right? Because we know that stuff overwhelms us. But for some people, it's like they just have a knack for being tapped into areas that most people don't think much of, right? And having somebody like that is amazing on your team because for like me, I'm a very, how can I put it? Like I'm a high scope. Like let me zoom all the way out here. You know what I'm saying? Like let me zoom all the way out. And when I get too engaged in small details, it overwhelms me. For some people, it's the exact opposite. But sometimes when you are trying to fix gaps, when you're trying to take something to that next level, it really is in the details. But you may have gotten feedback where sometimes they may tell you that you are too in the details. Now, I'll say this for some roles, right, that could be a weakness, right? So it's not saying that you cannot have that kind of strength. But that should let you know that that is a strength that you don't need to lead with, right? Because we all have more than one strength, right? This is just how it is. But when you are able to tap into your strengths and really lean on, right? What is it that I don't have to try hard in, right? What is it that strength that you bring that allows you to take surpass and exceed everybody else, right? And when you're so focused on your skills and you're not looking at your strengths, you're missing out on you being in alignment, right? You missed out on understand why you don't fit into certain spaces, because a lot of times you're not fitting into a certain space because they do not value your strengths. You miss out on being able to understand why is it that this is a good job and I'm being paid well, but I just can't seem to enjoy it. It's because you're not operating in your strengths. That role allows you, let me say this, that role will pull on more of your weak areas. People feel like, I don't know why I cannot just feel sure at work. It's because you're probably operating a lot of times in your weak areas more than you are your strengths. Right. And I know that people put a lot on skills. And it's not saying that skills are not important, but when you talk about being able to, when you talk about being able to bring, when you are talking about being able to influence the people around you, that rests in your strengths, right? Not just in your skills, because we have a lot of skills and can't halfway influence nobody, right? There are a lot of people with a lot of skills right now, right? So we know that it's just not about your skills, but it's about your strengths, right? What are those traits that allow you to bring forth the results that you do? And guess what? They will change over time, right? And once you get so, I don't want to say good in your expertise, right? Because you're already good in your expertise, but once you master your expertise, right? And it's one thing to be good in something, and it's one thing to master something. But once you start to master your expertise, and once you start to lean into your strength, chef's kiss, right? That is where you find that alignment, right? That is where you will find yourself growing effort, right? Like you'll just find yourself, didn't even think was possible, because you have started to engage with your expertise on a whole other phase. And now to operate in those strengths, my friend, you are now feeling good. And all of that we have charge that all of that stuff is going to slowly drift away, because you have now found your sweet spot, now found yours, right? But you can do all this. It requires you to come from a place of you being authentic, because if you are not being authentic, I can almost guarantee that you are not in a place to where you are able to really leverage those strengths, right? Because when you're not being authentic, when you're not able to really show up as you and share your ideas and share your views about certain things, right? You're now in this mode all day long. You find mode of I to be sure that, right? Dot. Whatever that is. You're always in this mode of making sure. Sometimes it's you having to make sure that they are not seeing you in the wrong way. That makes sure can sometimes say the exact is, I have to be sure that I don't make anybody here upset about anything. So you are spending your day having to focus on a whole bunch of how to make sures, rather than mastering your expertise, being sure that you are operating in your strengths, right? And that your work is going to bring you more towards your goals. It's no way possible that you can be goals, right? When you are so focused on all of these, I have to make sures. It's impossible, right? And so as we move into that, I talked about a little bit on my last live stream, right? Being vulnerable. And I really want to dig a little bit more into the child. That is taboo, okay? Vulnerable, oh no. To us, it is, absolutely not. Like that they just see. For one, it is a fear of, if they see this side of me, whatever that side is, it's a fear of they may take this and use. So now you find yourself literally in battle mode all day at work. You don't know who you're fighting, right? But you are literally in this mode, right, all day long, right? But when it's not about you being weak. Absolutely not, right? I think that when you're vulnerable, like that is that is such a great event of strength, because it's like now you are able to, in whatever that looks like, right? And you are so sure of yourself that even if it's not always received in the way that you think that it should be, you understand that it does not take anything from you, right? Because you are so sure of yourself. And when you are sure of yourself, there is no fear of not being liked. Because for one, you understand that in the world that we live in, you can literally do everything right in somebody who does not like it. But when you're able to be vulnerable and really lean into that, right? I believe that that's in the society that we live in. We think that that's a very, very weak thing. There's a whole lot of beliefs in society that I think is just killing us. For example, this whole belief that, men can't cry, right? And so this is why a lot of times we end up with husbands that are not emotionally available for us, because they've literally been taught their whole life, child, don't. And so now we end up with a whole bunch of men that can't even tap into their emotions, and your emotions is what allows you to connect and engage with the people around you. But it takes a very strong man to be able to be so vulnerable that he understands that I shouldn't cry, but I know that this is what I may need at this time, and push himself and still allow himself to eat. Everybody says that takes a level of strength, not weakness, right? And then a lot of things feel like, if I do this, it'll make me look weak. That's what's to influence the people that you work with. That's that thing that's keeping you from being able to make the impact with your skills, because you say, if I do this, then that will make me look weak. Admit, I don't know. And you don't know, sometimes in you being able to say, I don't know, that opens up to engage with people. That opens up a world for the people around you to see a little bit more of a human side of you, right? Now, I'm not saying again that there won't be times that people will see those things in you and they will not try to use those things. I agree. I actually know that there are some, take the good things that you do, turn it around for something else. But again, like before, it is about you being able to be sure of yourself. You cannot do that. It's because you're not sure of yourself. It's because you need that strength. That is what validates. And so is that you put a lot of things strong rather than you doing the work so you can be strong, so you can have true strength, and you're not in this fight mad work. Just rest on a minute and let that absorb in, right? Not having to put so much work into I have to look like I'm strong, but actually have the strength, right? And the reason why I can talk about this in such detail is right. And this does stop you from being able to be the leader that you know you can, right? This stops you from being able to make that impact and that income and that influence that you desire, right? Because now you you are not using all that things to show you who you are because you already know that, right? And so, and I really think that you being vulnerable really is a strategy. When I say strategy, you are using it in a way where it can advance without you feeling like you have to keep on adding stuff. Go back to school. You feel like you got to do all this rather than doing the work that you know that you need to do. And that, like even with the clients that I work with, right? I teach them how to use that, how to be vulnerable and use it as a way to build trust work with. And is a lot of the clients, right? When I'm first starting to like show them this, right? It's like automatic. They're like, yeah, right? Meaning that first response is, yeah, but they might, meaning they might do it like fear of if I'm this way, what will they do? Right. And I think that's a response that I kind of expect from everybody, right? It's like, okay, now, and then sometimes we can feel like, why is it that I'm always the one that has to change, right? Because it can feel frustrating. I don't understand why is it that I'm always has to change, right? And with that, there is a fear. I do this new thing. What is it that they will think, say, or do? But I think it's really important for you to understand. If you can get anything off of this live stream, my friend, anything, I think it's really important that you understand you can only change you, only change you. And I really feel like people are really exhausted because everyone except themselves. The reality is that when I work with that I work with, I'm like, look, I can only help you help you. That's it. These complaints, oh, your team and your boss, I can't change them. I can't help them. Why? Because so what tools and the strategy to and this is the problem that people don't want to deal with stuff. They're always in a mindset of thinking and there are some things that you can change. But the change comes from you being able to change or you learning how to adapt. And for some people, you learning how to adapt is to adapt to things. Like I said on my last live stream, you love structure. That's how I am. I love structure. I don't like things to change, right? And so I'm to, you know, because for me, when things change, that's a sign of chaos. But I had to learn that when things have to change, that can also be a sign of growth. Right? And so with a lot of my clients, when I have to give them the tools and the strategies on how are you able to deal with these things in the work life and not allow these things to affect you so much. It's like the number one response. It's a fear of if I have to be this is the power that they have, and you cannot think like that. The fear of if I am this way, then that gives them an opportunity to do X, Y, and Z, because you live your life and fight off of your expertise. And now you are now in a mode of feeling like I have to do whatever I can to survive at work. And child, who wants to live in fight mode 8, 9, 10 hours a day? And what happens is that when you leave fight mode, you go home in fight mode. You go home with the mode to, I got to do what I got to do to survive. And this is why people can't tap into their family and their friends, because they're always in this mode of, I got to do whatever I have to do to make sure that don't nothing bad happen. And that is what stops you from being able to your loved ones on a level that they need you, right? Because if you're always what could go wrong, how are you able to enjoy what's already right? Right? How are you able to enjoy those things that are good, that are right? You can't, because it is going to, it will, what's the word? It'll almost leave you with like, what's the word? It's like you find yourself being really pessimistic, right? Because it's not about, beautiful word, jaded, right? You find yourself being in a mind again. God, I can survive, to live in survival, right? Because again, it keeps you from being your expertise at the capacity that you want to. Because the clients that I work with, like they let me tell you something. Smart. Okay. Super, super smart. Super smart. Mm. They always exceed expectations, right? Exceed them. Right. They're always they like, hard doesn't scare them. That they're always in this competition with themselves, right? How is it that I can get better at this, right? There's always this drive there, right? Which is a good and a bad thing, but that's a whole nother live stream, right? So they're always in this drive, right? But what tends to happen a lot of times is that they tend to make everything about this drive, right? Not knowing how to put that ambition that they have in the right place. And so they find themselves in this tug of war almost with every aspect of life. And that's the thing, you can feel that tug in different aspects of your life. And it does not mean that you will feel just horrible, right? I do believe that you can still feel enjoyment, right? With that tug, but it's always a tug there. And what tends to happen, they start to experience a level of burnout, right? Because they have to be up, for one, always have to be on, right? They have to always know what not just now, but what is it that I have to do next? And then they got to always just have a level of control. And then feeling the need to have a level of control, it burns them out. This is why I say, when you talk about burnout, people think that I am tired. But you cannot fix burnout with a nap. You cannot fix burnout, you know, folks will take a trip. You can't fix burnout with a vacation. You fix burnout restructuring some things in your life. That's the only way that you can fix that, is when you start to restructure something. Something needs to be moved or removed, right? And this is why with my clients I work with, they will experience a level of burnout in some point of their career, because they're just on this mode of on all the time, right? And with when they even get a thought of, I need to maybe switch some things around, or maybe I shouldn't do this as much, or I should pull back area, the rain floods that floods in. And they start thinking, okay, because I can't handle all of this, right? I feel the weight of it. It's getting really heavy, and I'm coming to a point where I can't hold all this up anymore. That guilt, and it'll start flooding in because they have told themselves all along that you can handle this. You can hold. Now when it starts to see the reality is that I can't, they feel like they failed. So I'm reading somebody this morning. I know I am. I know I am. If this is you, and look, you don't have to share, just drop the word me, right? Because it gets heavy. And come to the end of your rope, which every man does, which everybody, because it wasn't designed to live like this. Every person, when you come to your rope, now you feel like you failed. Rather than see burnout as alignment, you see burnout as a sign of failure. But burnout is a sign, boo, something got to change. Something ain't right. And no amount of on a trip, of going to brunch with, because something needs to change. Moved over, right? Something needs to change. And sign that you are sleepy. It's a sign that you are not in alignment, right? But for you, I'm telling you, I've had clients that I work with, and have some clients when we have to really dig into these things, right? Because let me tell you something. If you don't want to hear the truth about yourself, I'm not your coach. Don't book me. If you only care about all the things that you do and so great, and you do not want to hear about those blind spots and those gaps that are holding you back, do not book me, because that's just not me, right? I want sometimes I have to lead my clients in a way that you have to take a hard look at yourself. There's no way that I can help you go to and you turn around and do the same thing you've been doing, and you know that it don't work. But many people understand that's what they're doing. They're on a hamster wheel. A hamster wheel. Because I say, when you work with me, it is a investment, and I want you to get the full return on your investment. But if you only want to work with me and leave me and go do the same thing again, don't waste your money. Do not, right? But if you're ready to take a hard look at yourself, and it is not to, because I know some people themselves to feel that, oh, like this. You have to be able to look at yourself so you can never make a mistake again, right? So you can get back the time. How you grow in your career is based upon how you grow as a person, right? And like I was saying, the clients that I work with, like literally, and it's so crazy. My clients when I'm working with them, they're like, "Girl, you are reading my mind." I said, because I know you. For one, I've been you. Two, I attract a certain kind of person, right? I'm hearing this. And three, it's so crazy how many people are going through the same thing. So if you feel like all alone, my guarantee you're not alone. You are not alone. And once you start fixing those gaps, right, everything will change. I had a client I was on a Zoom call with last week. She said, "Alicia, you changed my marriage." Now, we ain't never once talked about her husband on a Zoom call ever in life. Mm, we did not. Now, sometimes with my clients, when they are having to, like, kind of lean on something, I may ask about their spouse, if their spouse have, shared thoughts about this, but that's pretty much it. But she said, Alicia, you changed my relationship with my husband. Why? Because I started tapping in to those little growth gaps, blind spots. So what happened was, in her career, there were certain things that she had experienced, right? And as we started to really deep dive into the certain hardships in her career, we started to uncover that she has a problem with control. She always got to have the control of things, right? And I always talk to my clients. I said, I can guarantee you, if you having control is a problem at work, I can guarantee you struggle with this in every area, right? It's just you. And when I said that, she just kind of like, she was like, but what I didn't know was some things that had happened on the inside, right? In her marriage, she was struggling with the same thing, right? Not being able to let go of control. And it's the thing, she really didn't want to be this way. She did not want to be this way. But her having to have the control everything came from the fact of her not being able to realize and understand wrong. You can bounce back from this, right? So it's not so much in, because, like, again, it comes from you trying to control the outcome of everything. So you gotta start asking yourself, what is it to the outcomes that I'm so attached to, right? Who has and it's the thing, when you have control, you're not just attached to, you attached to the way that it's done, the everything. And so what happens is you find yourself attached to all of these things, but it's like, who told you that if something doesn't go right, that means there's something wrong with you? Who told you that? Who told you that you got to absorb every failure? Who told a doesn't way that you think that it should appear? Why is it that your self-worth came from it? Who told you that? Right? And so as we started to explore these things and get down to the root of things, which is what we do with my clients, get to the root. We got to dig up the root and really get down, right? She started realizing same thing in my marriage. Because in her marriage, she started feeling like, right, if things don't go right, if or the outcome be that says something about me as a wife. I said, child, you carrying too much weight on yourself. And I can say, why? Because I've been there. Carry too much on yourself. And I'm gonna say this. Isn't it amazing how we are, right? We will say, I don't get anybody. There really isn't a whole lot of people there to help me and to support me. I feel like I'm always the one pouring. That wants to pour into me. We say this all the time. And child, let somebody try to help us. No, I'm fine. So we're like, you're living in like two different realities, right? So the don't want to help me. It's all me. And then the other side is, no, I'm fine, for control. And you're fighting against the very thing that you want. Like I said, that exhaustion comes from because there's something in you. You know that you need help. You know you need it. But the other part says that if I need help, the help has to look like this, right? And the help has to allow me to get to this level, right? Look, straight foolery. I've been there. I'm telling you. I even have to stop. If you hear me, okay, stop myself. Okay, stop. Like things around the house, and then when you helping you with things around the house, you say, no, don't like that though. It's like, look, do you want that help or not? And this happens in you want your team and the folks around you to engage more and to help more. But child, when they do, you're like, nah, don't do it like that. Right. And what it does is it sends off a signal that you don't trust them. But the reality is that you really don't trust yourself enough to let go and understand if something bad happens. I say bad, a lot of times even really bad, just that result may not be up to your whole of the live stream, right? That fall back on me and says it is said something about me. How in the world are you able to enjoy yourself, enjoy your career, enjoy the life that you are trying to build? How all of this was so on when I say against yourself, because you say that you want this, but then your actions say no, you don't want that. And this is why I built some of the clients that I work with smart achievements, results, but they can't feel the impact of their results or their accomplishments or successes. How they start over again. They feel as though every day they're starting over again, and they don't get the fulfillment of what it feels like to build something because they're always fighting against themselves. And that level of self sabotage, it destroys and build, because you keep telling yourself that it's not enough. Nope. Right? So those results and those successes, you tear them down. And so you're always feeling like you're just getting started rather than being able to enjoy and reap off of what you've already built. Because you're like, nope. Mm-mm. And that's what you call self-sabotage. Is when that you go in. Now, you work hard, you exceed expectations, you go above and beyond, you have pushed yourself. Sacrifices, but I make to reap. I don't make sacrifices for the sake for that. I make it because I understand that I reap off of this. But some sacrifice after sacrifice for years, and they still don't think that they deserve to reap off of it. You've put the work in for years. You've had to be in rooms and spaces where on you where do this at this time, learn a skill. I'm on my way somewhere. That's a sacrifice. When you find yourself having sacrifice, but you're making that sacrifice because you plan on reaping off of it. That sacrifice is a seed. Look, you're like, okay, I'm going to plant this seed, right? Because down the road, build something. Right? That look, we back in the soil, my friend. Right? And so when you're having to make a sacrifice, you understand, okay, it's because I am trying, but I'm going to reap off of this. But what happens when you keep making sacrifices in your what you've done, what you've had to sow, the sacrifice that you've had to even make? What happens when you don't think about that? or self-sabotage has every time comes all of those seeds that you planted. What happens then? Feel like, right? You will feel like you're always the less experienced one in the lives. Oftentimes you are the most person in the room, but you will always high because that self-doubt hold on to what you've already. And that then, right, leads you into being underpaid because you keep on accepting job offers lower deserve. Why? Because you keep being grateful for these opportunities that you just kind of, okay, ooh, what you know that you are underpaid. You know you underpaid. Robbed career under the hat of grateful. Now, child, I've been there. I've been there. Stepping into rooms. But look, let's see what that too like. And so with all of this, it's okay, where does it leave you? It leaves you undervalued, underpaid, not being recognized, right? It leaves you not being in rooms that you deserve to be in. Why? Right? Because you have not valued you. And when I say that, right, it does not mean that you don't have any like love towards yourself. What I mean is that you have not seen the value that you have, right? It's like, how is it that you want others to recognize, even recognized you? And this is that hamster wheel that you find yourself on, of feeling like I don't have enough. And it was like, who said that? Who said that? But if you sit down and you start pulling up them receipts, you remember and hold on to every place that you have worked at, you have brought change. Sometimes you have had to fight, right? Everywhere you go, you leaving behind results. You leave behind change. Every room that you go into, you make better. Able to and own it without a shadow of a doubt. Own your accomplishments and your successes and saying, I did this, dot, 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 and that's it. Not I did this, but no, it was you. And it's not you reached this level of success. All of it's saying is that, right? That success is yours. And there's nothing wrong with it. I think sometimes we are so afraid and we keep thinking that own it, then folks will think that I'm saying I'm all that and I don't want to look like I'm trying to brag. When you got people with 0.2 experience and have no problems having to brag on the nothing that they have. That they have nothing and they brag as if they have it all, and you have everything and you act like you have nothing, right? And so like it goes back to the thing that I was saying earlier. Like, you can really be everything that you are wanting people to think that you are. You can be everything that you want people to think that you are, right? Because sometimes we want them to see a level of strength and all the other things. And and even when you reach a level of strength, we gotta know. We got to know. Even when you reach a level of strength, you still can't do it all. like, like, I feel like we need to rest in that. Rest in the fact that God did not create us to be able to do it all. He didn't. And like, understand that me being able to know and to understand that I can't do everything, excuse me, right? It's strength. It's strength. So we are at that hour mark. I know this live stream was heavy this morning. I will answer any questions that you may have. Somebody said, and then acquire more skills as a disguise. Oh, don't get me started on that. Right? That chase of I just need to get this thing, right? I had a post that I shared a week ago with one of the clients that I work with, and she is trying to move into a VP role, right? And so, she's like, I think I'm gonna take this class. I think it was like on strategic management, right? And I was like, haven't you already taken some stuff or whatever? She's like, yeah, but I think it'll be so good if I can take this course. And I asked her, I said, who is it that you want to see you? And she was like, I said, who is it that you are trying to get to see you? Now, I am not against you learning new skills. I think it's a good thing to want to enhance your expertise, right? Especially in the job space that we're in now. You need to stay competitive. And one of the ways that you do that is when you're able to upskill, right? But it's one thing to want to really learn a concept, right? Meaning, like, I really want to understand in a more like I really want to dive into this to really. That's one thing. It's another thing when you say, if I get this, I'm going to look more qualified, especially again when you've already done the work of that thing. And so I said, who is it that you are trying to get to see you? And she in the straightest face. And she said, look, I just feel like, but I just say, I just feel like if I take this, then they will see that. Oh, no. Her response was, I just want to make sure that I have enough. I said, enough of what? Right? Because you just can't throw those vague answers to me, right? And sometimes my clients, I'm not trying to make them frustrated with me, but I'm trying to challenge them in a good way. It's like, I just want you to really dig into this because I don't want you to waste money or time. So I started to recite back to her the past successes and the results, right? And I said, what class or course did you take to bring forth those? And she was like, none. I said, right. I said, so we don't need to lean on this stuff and start, stuffing these things in areas and gaps that they don't fit in, right? And I began to say, leadership is not you just, showcasing your value. It's about you knowing your value, right? And it's about you being able to make moves that is going to be based on strategy and alignment, and not you having to make moves that is based upon validation, right? And so with that, and I want to say that because that statement rings very, very, very true. So, right, if you guys need help on being able to operate in your career, right, you desire to advance, right, and make more impact, right, and make more money, and you want to do it without anything holding you back, where you are able to lean into that expertise of yours, right, with all of you, and not feeling like you have to hold back certain parts of you. Let's talk, right? With my clients, this is something that I help them with, right? So again, we are not like, you are not starting from scratch. You are building something, right? And if you want to build, you have to be able to build in a way that is going to feel good, that is going to allow you to live the life that you want, right? And also that is going to get you to where you want to be. This is something I say all the time, right? Lead well, earn well, and live well. You can have all three. Okay. So if you want to work with me, let's talk. You can go to my website. I am aliciaperkins.com. Or if you are on any one of these platforms, I'm looking because I'm at TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube. Let's talk. Let's really see like what are those gaps, right? And let's see if we will be a good fit for each other. So if you guys do not have any questions, I will let you enjoy the rest of the day, and I will speak with you soon. Bye.